Back again with one of my favorite political figures in the world of all time ever. We got former Minnesota Governor Jesse Ventura sharing his impressions of Governor Tim Walz. Okay, so Tim Walz is going to be vice president, I think. And this one is going to be incredible, guys. So he shares his stories and impressions of Governor Tim Walz, as well as the state of politics today in this year's presidential election. I can't wait, guys. This is the first time we've heard Jesse Ventura coming out talking about the politics openly. I don't know what to expect, guys. Drop a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. My two favorite people in the world are from Minnesota, man. Brock Lesnar and Jesse Ventura. This one's going to be incredible, guys. Let's go.
Welcome back to Politics Nation. When Vice President Kamala Harris picked the Governor Tim Walz to be her running mate this week, he joined a long line of Minnesota politicians to achieve national fame, including vice presidents and presidential nominees Hubert Humphrey and Walter Mondale. Another politically prominent Minnesotan was Jesse Ventura,
Let's go.
a former professional wrestler and Navy veteran who ran successfully for governor in 1998 on the Reform Party ticket. Former Governor Ventura joins us now. He is currently the spokesman for Jesse Ventura Farms. Thank you for coming on today, Governor. Let's start with this. You once held the same job as Governor Walz, and you followed his career. What are your impressions of him?
This presenter for MSNBC is really serious, this guy.
Well, first and foremost, let me say, Reverend Sharpton, it must have taken you and Jesus to get me back on MSNBC, because I never thought I'd be on this network ever again, and it took two people like you two, I think, to achieve that. But having said that, I'll tell you about Governor Walz, what I see about him. I'm a complete independent, and when he won his first election as governor, within 24 hours, he called me and set up a meeting with me to pick my brain. No other governor's ever done that, Republican or Democrat.
Yeah, that's actually crazy, guys, if you think about it, because Jesse Ventura is an independent, guys. And my favorite political figures are all independents, okay? They wouldn't be with any political party or anything like that. Yeah, my favorite people would be independents. They wouldn't be anything like, join with any parties. I think, as Jesse Ventura's book says it quite eloquently, the Demo-Crips and Republicans, no more gangs in government. That book explains exactly, guys, how they are gangs in the government, guys, okay? They're like gangs,
Did. And what that showed me, Tim Walz is the kind of guy who's out for success, and he will reach across the aisle, because he came to me, the ultra independent in Minnesota, to seek me out to get any information that would help him govern, and I happily did so. And I'll tell you what else he did. 20-some years ago, I tried to legalize cannabis marijuana. I lit the match. Well, the match simmered for 20 years and finally became a flame, and Governor Walz called me, and he said, Governor Ventura, you need to be in my office Monday at 11. I'm going to sign into law ending the prohibition of marijuana in Minnesota. It was your idea. You're still alive. You should be there to take credit for this, because you're the one that done it. That's the kind of person Tim Walz is.
Wow.
Seems like a good guy. Now, I'm not a fan of Kamala Harris personally. I don't like her at all. I definitely think that Trump is going to win this race. Am I a Trump supporter? In certain ways I am. In certain ways I'm not. I don't like the way he takes money from certain countries and things like that, guys. But I will say this. It's interesting that Jesse Ventura is talking about Walz in this way, because a lot of people are making fun of him, guys, on the internet, let's just say.
Well, former President Trump's vice presidential pick, J.D. Vance, who is a former Marine, has led the Republican charge attacking Governor Walz over his 24 years of military service. Vance has accused Walz of stolen valor for leaving the National Guard in 2005 to run for Congress, just a few months before his unit was deployed to Iraq. As someone who understands how military service works, you definitely do, what's your response to this?
That's a tough one, guys. Would you leave before the war breaks out? I mean, at the same time, guys, as saying the guy's a coward, I feel like You know, it's kind of, you know, you can't really be egging for, it can't be really be wishing for war. But a lot of people, notably like Sean Ryan, you know, from the Sean Ryan Show on the podcast, kind of mocking him, saying that he's a coward. He was in the back while everyone else was in the front kicking down doors and stuff. And although he was in the military service for 24 years, he never actually saw any combat, but he was still a Marine. So, I mean,
my response is this. First and foremost, any point after 20 years, you can retire when you want to. Second, Vance is missing the point. What he ought to be asking is this. Why is the National Guard being shipped out and fighting in foreign wars in other lands?
I agree with that. Why is the National Guard? The National Guard should be at home. National Guard. Guarding America. It shouldn't be guarding the flipping world. That's ridiculous.
That isn't their role.
Facts.
Their role is to be here in our nation, protecting us inside our own country.
Facts.
That's why they're called the National Guard.
Facts.
What happened was this. George Bush and Dick Cheney, when they started their folly with the Iraq War, they needed bodies. They couldn't bring back a draft. It would be political suicide. So what did they do? Bush signed an executive order now sending our National Guard over in the world combat zones.
Dumb as could be, guys. Like they should have never gone into Iraq or Afghanistan for that matter. They should have sent little teams of Navy SEALs and Special Forces, Delta Force, all those guys, Green Berets, to go in and get the flipping guys, criminals, ISIS and stuff like that, terrorists, not invade the country. That was ridiculous. That was a dumb idea.
That is ridiculous. That is for the regular military to be doing that. The Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, not the National Guard. And besides that, Governor Walz already had 24 years in. He's an E9. An E9 doesn't go out on patrol. An E9 doesn't lead a demolition raid. E9.
What is that? What's an E9? Is that a colonel? I'm going to Google that real quick, guys. That's a high level of military service. So E9? Jesus.
An E9 doesn't lead a demolition raid. E9s are the highest enlisted belonging to that particular unit. They come out with the commanding officer, and they have a rapport with the CO and the head enlisted. It's a relatively honor position more than it is.
So it's a sergeant major or commander sergeant major. Damn, that's crazy. Senior command position in a battalion or a higher unit. So he's over the entire flipping battalion. Sergeant major of the Army. Now he wasn't in the Army, or Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy if that was in the Marines. So he was in the Marines. He was in the National Guard. He was basically a sergeant major. That's huge, guys. That is huge. It's the highest enlisted pay grade. That's crazy.
As any else. So Walt's deploying and Vance is worried about that. I think Vance is doing a disservice to the United States Marine Corps, because I know a lot of great Marines, and Marines show respect. That's the one thing you get out of a Marine is respect.
Oh, yeah.
And Vance ought to look in the mirror and behave like a Marine.
Well, let me go here then. A former wrestling rival of yours, Hulk Hogan, delivered quite a performance at the Republican National Convention last month when he ripped off his shirt and called Trump a hero. I wonder what you made of his appearance warming up the crowd for the former president. And is there any chance we might see you make a cameo at the Democratic Convention? I know you're an independent, but is there any chance?
Well, Reverend, I wouldn't hold my breath that I'll be there. But as far as Hogan goes, it doesn't surprise me, because when I was in wrestling in the 80s, I tried to unionize wrestling. And it was Hulk Hogan who cut my legs out from under me. Hulk Hogan went to Vince McMahon, ratted me out, and subsequently later on cost me my job. So it doesn't surprise me to see Hogan with the Republicans, because Hogan's as anti-union as you can get.
Yeah, he's a bit of a snake, guys.
There still is not a union in professional wrestling. The reason I tried to do it, I was in an elevator and ran into Gene Upshaw, the great tackle guard from the Oakland Raiders.
Right.
And Big Gene raised his finger up and looked at me and says, you boys need to form a union. I tried to do it, and it was Hulk Hogan who ratted me out to Vince McMahon, and subsequently I was fired and lost my job.
Jeez.
Now, before I let you go, all of us have some history with Trump. You recruited Trump to run for president for the Reform Party ticket in 2000, which he did briefly before you both left the party. And Trump has borrowed heavily from your strategic playbook, leaning into his celebrity name recognition and...
Damn, so yeah, he actually helped Trump 25 years ago, but he's consequently said that he doesn't like the Trump of today compared to the Trump of yesteryear, you know?
Leaning into his celebrity name recognition and focusing on issues that appeal to working class people, especially young men. So I have to ask you, is the Trump of today the same man you once befriended? And how do you think this election will play out?
I will answer that with no. He is not the guy that came to me back in '98 after I won. Back then, he was much more liberal, but you need to understand, Donald Trump is for Donald Trump. And Donald Trump is going to do whatever it is that supports Donald Trump.
True.
So he looked the situation over.
True.
He obviously saw that he could take over the Republican Party. So he changed his views. You know, he went from pro-choice now to, no rights for women's reproductive. He's gone far right. He's trying to say he's now a religious person. Well, to me, if you're going to be a religious person, you have to live it. And Donald Trump hardly lives it. I mean, he's had multiple wives. I often laugh and think, what would the Republicans have said if Barack Obama would have had multiple wives and multiple children and ran for president like Donald Trump? What would the Republican response be to that?
True.
It would have been horrifying to see what Republicans would have said if that would have been Barack Obama.
True.
And yet they'll embrace a Donald Trump who he's... Reverend, I'm an agnostic atheist, and I think that I'm more religious than he is.
Wow, that's quite a statement. Well, I'm honored to have you on, and even though you're an agnostic atheist, you said Jesus, and I think more Jesus, I would say. Got you to come on the show tonight. Former Minnesota Governor Jesse Ventura, thank you for coming on. Honestly, thank you.
I love it, guys. You know, he's only speaking facts there. I love Jesse Ventura. I love the way he speaks about Trump. Some good things, some negative things. It is funny to see that he endorsed him years ago, and now that he's not. Let me know your thoughts tonight, guys. Stay free. I love you all, my beautiful people. County Gains News Network coming in hot every single day. I love you guys all. I'll see you on the next one, bro. Peace.